So now if somebody wants to abuse me or wants to attack my wife, find better ways. Find better ways. You don't send a scarecrow. You don't hide behind. Come out. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm here to debate. When President Museveni offered me a position in cabinet, I consulted deeply. I prayed. I consulted, I prayed, I consulted, I prayed. And I went back to him and I said, sorry, Mr. President, I cannot take this position. But I think I can give you somebody who can serve. He was ready to listen. That is now when I went to consult. And I chose, out of respect of the offer and the seriousness which I take the presidency, I offered my wife. And recently I've seen the president acknowledging that when somebody offers his wife, it's a serious undertaking. That's the seriousness which I approached the interaction. You see, one of the reasons I told the president that I cannot take up the position is I think differently. The way I approach a problem is completely different to how those on the other side. I would invite you to look for the Hansard, look for any statement, look for any show, and show me my change of tone. I've always spoken the issues. On the floor of Parliament, I've spoken the issues. On health, I've spoken the issues. On animal health, I've spoken the issues, and that's an area which I worked in. Okay. I have raised it on the floor. One of the issues I challenged them that the problem you're failing is because you don't know why you are there. You don't know the purpose. I've raised the issue. Education must be a qualitative and a quantitative improvement in the citizen. And for me, the citizen is the most valuable. I've said it always. I can say it politely, I can say it also with vigor. But I say the same message. You read the Hansard, look for it. You see, the people say, Akena said this, Akena said that. I say, okay, you show me. Okay, in this day of media, there's nothing which is going to disappear. Produce it. Produce it. You see, people make their own things and then they attribute it to you, and then you want me to defend what is in your mind. I don't know what's in your mind. I know what I am and what I've stood for.
What's in my mind, sir?
No, I can't answer what's in your mind. I can answer what's in mine.
Okay. Can we talk about that? Don't you regret not being this vigorous maybe 10 years ago? Imagine if you had started...
10 years ago, I did not have a pathway.
Okay.
I was creating the pathway. I was creating the pathway. I needed to create a pathway which will give me a credible aspect where I can get a national platform to push our issues. 10 years ago, I was creating the pathways to be effective in what I'm trying to deliver. You can have a message, but if you fail to get the platform where to deliver it or have the impact on how you can deliver it, the message can be lost. So if I stand on the street, even if I have the best message, and I just stand there in the middle of the street and I try to give that message, it will not have the impact. You must create the environment. And this environment was based around the contesting. And the contesting was based around creating an avenue whereby I can force the 50+1 question to be asked. Or at least the question to be thought about, that there's a possibility that you can get a way whereby nobody is going to get the 50+1. And what did I want to do when I was doing that? Make sure the issues, which I'd been talking about always, but lacked the platform to be able to present them as adequately as I wanted. So, do I regret? There's a time for everything. There's a time for everything. And for me, maybe what you want to hear is, there was never a no-compete clause. But there are those who assume there was, and there are those who try to enforce a non-compete clause which does not exist. And because of that one, yes, I am a bit agitated. and have a right to be.
Let me ask you just one question, which is meant to clarify what you said earlier. You talked about an offer, to a cabinet offer. Tell us more about that, and what was it exactly, and when was this offer made?
From all the time Betty has been a member of cabinet, that was the offer. That is 2016. I can talk about 2011, but it's not relevant to our conversation. 2016. 2016, I was offered a position on cabinet. I thought through it, but I decided not to reject the president. I decided let me honor him and let me respect him. So I did the respectable thing in that I brought my wife and I gave my wife that opportunity after discussing with her and the president agreeing that I can substitute. When I substituted, the president was happy. He complimented and said, thank you. And of recent, he has acknowledged that giving your wife is a testament that you trust somebody. That's why I say, madharau. You know, at least if you're going to insult me, you bring somebody of substance. Or you come yourself, but you don't send me a kwara. The other time we had somebody moving around talking, wah, wah, wah. What happened to her? Who do they think they are? Who do they think they are? What happened? Me, I'm here to stay. My politics, I'll do it open. Now they're threatening, oh, you're going to remove. Really? Really? At least the president was careful enough to pretend and say, hey, I didn't know these things were happening in court. These are the announcing. Are we really wise when we announce before? You undermine the very judiciary. And you undermine the future. But for me, the biggest problem, I've said, the biggest asset of Uganda is its people. So you must appreciate. Now, instead of these side routes which you keep taking me, oh, where were you 10 years ago? 2 million people today, 2026. Where are you now? You are here 2026. What are you going to do about 2 million Ugandan children who are malnourished? You are now aware. You cannot not be aware. Are you going to do anything? Or it's going to be business as usual? Are you going to wake up and say, no, there's a problem. 2 million Ugandan children under 5 are malnourished. Are you okay with it? Let's wake up. Let's wake up. Don't go decide issues. What is this issue? What was I doing 10 years ago? So what was I doing 10 years ago? If I was a fool 10 years ago, I may still be a fool now. But I'm telling you today, 2 million Ugandan children are starving. Not tomorrow, today. What are we going to do? Are we going to pretend we don't know? I can't. It wakes me up at night. It keeps me up at night. But we have solutions. Do we have a chance to present them? No. And then the one who, you're blocked and then they mock you. Honestly. We believe that the children are the future. And what is the future of the children of Uganda? In the previous month or so, I raised key issues on 2 statistical areas which were of concern to me and the Uganda People's Congress. Number 1 was the infant mortality rate, and number 2 was the child malnutrition rate in Uganda. But because of all the noise which is taking place, it got lost. And I think many people thought I am here to address the noise. I will address the noise. But I don't want us to lose the substance. My cry and my concern, and I kept repeating this as a Christian, how do I stand before God when I know Ugandan children are starving? In the song they talk about the greatest love, loving yourself. The Bible says you must love your neighbor as you love yourself. In the context of Uganda, who is my neighbor? Who is my neighbor? When there's injustice, who is my neighbor? When the courts being stupefied. Who is my neighbor? When the children of Uganda are starving, who is my neighbor? And I want to emphasize this point so that we don't get lost. What is most important? Somebody mentioned on media, Milton Obote killed 500,000. Yoweri Museveni has mentioned several times, including once when I was in Parliament, in his estimation, about 70,000 people died in the Luero War. In my speech from this very podium, I mentioned that the infant mortality rate means 84,000 Ugandan families are going to mourn before the second birthday. 84,000. Each year, 84,000 Ugandan families are going to mourn the loss of a child before their second birthday. And what are the reasons? Lack of medicines, lack of facilities. We now have doctors running around, or the minister running around to the hospitals. Would it really cure the problem which has been endemic? As UPC, the Uganda People's Congress presented the most innovative health plan in the 1960s that targets beds per capita. 2.4 beds per 1,000. Achieved early 70s. Why? Because the government was focused on the well-being of the citizens of Uganda. Its task, the medical profession, the whole health services, is to provide treatment or life, support life of the people of Uganda. And if our future is in the children, and we have a statistic of 26% of the children, which translates to roughly 2 million Ugandan children. As I speak to you today in 2026, 2 million Ugandan children are malnourished. What does World Health Organization talk about malnourished? Stunting, what does it mean? Let me read. According to the World Health Organization, stunting is a low height for age. It is a result of chronic or recurrent undernutrition, usually associated with poor socioeconomic conditions, poor maternal health and nutrition, frequent illness, and inappropriate infant and child feeding and care in early life. Who further explains that stunting has a lifelong consequence. Children who are stunted are more likely to experience failure to reach their physical potential. We don't want Uganda or Ugandan children. 2 million Ugandan children may fail to reach their physical potential. 2 million Ugandan children will fail to reach their cognitive potential. 2 million will have poor cognition. They'll have poor educational performance, reduced work capacity, reduced economic productivity, and increased risk of chronic illnesses. That is the Uganda we talk about. Others talk about a Uganda where things are growing. Uganda's middle income, but we have 2 million Ugandan children. Not neighbors now. This is at home. As a leader today, can I fail to see that? Instead, we're being entertained by noise. People who want to distract us from the real policy objective for what some of us stand for. I took time also to compile, because there's always this story since 1986. There are also figures for malnutrition since 1986. Although the figures, credible figures, begin since 1989. 88, 89. 88-89, 44.6%. In 1995, 44.8%. 2001, 45%. 2006, 38%. 2011, 33%. 2016, 29%. And 2022, 2026. It's 26% as it is today. Ugandan children starving in a country blessed by nature. One of the most abundant water resource, freshwater resource in the world. Now, when you put the totals, in 1988-89, it meant that 1.38 million Ugandan children were malnourished, i.e. having all those symptoms or the potential for those symptoms. In 1995, we had 1.75 Ugandan children malnourished. 2001, 2.16 million Ugandan children. 2006, 2.17 million Ugandan children. 2011, 2.15 million Ugandan children. When you total it all, since the advent of NRM, we have had approximately 18 million Ugandan children who have undergone malnutrition in this blessed country of ours. 18 million. Of those, roughly 16 million are still alive today. And most of those are going to outlive me. But they're going to be a burden on tomorrow's society. If half of today's children are malnourished, are going to have problems in education, are going to have problems being able to be gainfully employed, they'll become a burden to the society of tomorrow. And if the children are our future, what are we doing? Or what are we saying about our future? Are we here to serve the economy, or the economy is to serve the people of Uganda? But if we are sacrificing 2 million Ugandan children today in 2026 to serve this economy, I don't want any of it. My training, my upbringing is to serve the people of Uganda. And who else, who's more vulnerable than the youngest of the youngest? And these are the ones who are supposed to take us into the future. There are many reasons why this is happening, but it should never happen in Uganda. Those are the sort of policy questions which I want to discuss. I want to debate. So, if there's those who think they can take me on, please, I welcome you. I've had issues, I've seen things on Twitter. Others want to go on a boxing ring, others want to do it. I want to debate policy of Uganda with anybody whosoever chooses. I wanted Museveni for 2026. I wanted him. I was ready, more than ready. Then now people say, oh, really? I was ready. Those who didn't want it should understand that some of us are focused on more than just many of these issues on the surface. Which is now I'm going to come to, let me address a little bit of the noise. I'll give a clear example. Last year, towards the end of the campaign, when we're being mistreated, I'll repeat, we're being mistreated terribly by security forces and agencies. I still reached out and I shared 3 policy positions to the powers that be. Many of my team were not happy. Many of my supporters are saying, why? But I said it's always important to keep a door open for conversation. Even when Iran and the US are pounding each other, they still have ways of communicating. So even if we disagree and we strongly disagree, it does not stop me from talking. But one of the policy positions I presented resulted in a blue letter which came out on the 11th of February 2026, where the President is writing to the Prime Minister talking about this airport in Mbarara. Why do I claim this one? One of the policy positions I sold to this government was, at this moment there are many mega projects in South America, most of them being undertaken by Chinese interests. There are a lot of cargo flights currently flying through South America. And these are not scheduled flights, but there are also personnel around these projects. Even in Uganda, we have mega projects which are run by these huge Chinese companies. Most of them are parastatals. There was this air corridor, which existed, but was going to be able to be exploited. So I share this notion that Uganda can benefit. I wanted Uganda to benefit. But there was also some diplomatic issues. And diplomacy is not something which we treat or we handle carelessly. That's why sometimes I get irked by when people handle diplomacy as if it's something in their own private affair. It's not. And I wrote, Jimmy Akena writing, while being squeezed terribly, being mistreated, on the 23rd of December 2025 at 15:43, I write and I quote, this is the one I mentioned, that is only HE who could navigate through both US and Chinese interests as the cargo capacity grows. My understanding, because the president has been there for long, he can score for Team Uganda. Team Uganda must win. For me, it's Team Uganda must win. So I share this for Team Uganda to win. I know we don't live in isolation. There are other countries which are competing. So I share this one for Team Uganda. I'll always be Team Uganda. And the thinking was, when this air cargo come, there will be roughly 10 to 30 tons per plane able to go to Middle East, Far East, Europe. At the same time, you have the European Union has opened the space and saying farmed fish can be exported to Europe. China has allowed all aquatic products to be exported to China. How do you transport them from Uganda to China? You need planes. Where are the planes coming from? From South America, or they're already there. So what does this government go and do? The president writes to the prime minister, talk about one airport in Mbarara. The argument is correct. The argument is correct. Yet if somebody was to come from Brazil, refuel at Nyakisharira, it would take him 20 hours of flying time. It takes 9 hours from South America to Nyakisharira and 11 hours from Nyakisharira to China. Correct. But that is true for every airport in Uganda. Entebbe, it's true, but true today. Gulu, it will be true. Arua, it will be true today. So what does that mean to me as a nationalist? We need export capacity. We need cold storage in Entebbe. We need cold storage in Gulu. We need cold storage in Arua. We need an export drive to get our products into these markets to support our people. That was my thinking. They ran for one airport. Am I on the same page? I was looking at what can drive Uganda, all these airports, to become hubs for export, hubs for Ugandan products, to raise our families, and also for these families to be able to have nutrition to feed their children. They run for one airport. Can I really be comfortable in such an environment? I cannot. So my policy position is different. But I challenge any of these people who are just making noise here. Does anybody ever presented a policy position which can actually stand scrutiny? Jimmy Akena UPC presented a housing policy. It has been peer-reviewed to target mainly the soldiers, the policemen, the prison workers, the teachers, people who are mobile, but to be able to own their homes with dignity. That is UPC. Ideas for the people of Uganda. What am I treated to? Comedy show. Are people serious about the future of Uganda? Shakespeare wrote, if music be the food of love, then play on, give me excess of it. I chose that song on the basis, what love do we have for our country? The song starts with, I believe the children are the future. If the children are the future of Uganda, why is it that 2 million Ugandan children are starving and we're just there playing stupid politics, doing all sorts of nonsense? And that condition can be permanent. There will be a burden for the children of tomorrow. Our own children tomorrow will have to deal with that burden. Instead of getting the teacher now, when we have children, what are we supposed to do if we're in government? Government looks at the issue of the body and the mind. Education is something which we have to develop these children, let them reach their full potential. I have read here, if you are malnourished, you will never reach your full potential. You will never become what you can fully become. Can we not address that one instead of this nonsense which people are trying to do? Secondly, some of the statements undermine the whole institutions which we try to build. Sentencing is done by a court, a judge. A judicial officer does sentencing after listening to a case. People are now being sentenced on Twitter. Before investigation or whatever, before going through a trial. Are we saying that Uganda, we don't have justice? We don't have courts? Or are we just trying to undermine institutions for our own personal benefit? I hate to think of a situation whereby we lose complete faith in the courts of Uganda, that the courts can never give justice. But somebody is trying to create that impression that decisions can be made and just be implemented. I have made a decision. Whatever they do, whatever they say, I'll continue to speak for the people of Uganda. For the children of Uganda who do not have a future. We are squandering the future of these children. What Uganda are we giving them? Debts which we are not paying? Debts for what? When our children are starving. If we cannot feed our own children, what do we say to the world? 2 million Ugandan children. Can we stand among nations? And our figures were comparative with places like Yemen. Yemen is about 30-something%. Yemen is at war. It's a desert. Afghanistan. Uganda, the pearl of Africa. UPC had policy positions on how to revive the economy. 1980, the campaign, I played the video of the first budget speech, which many people have missed. Milton Obote, as Minister of Finance, in his first budget speech, floated the shilling, brought in the market mechanism. And in those days, in 1981, Al Party left of center, coming with that idea. This is more innovative than Tony Blair, what Tony Blair did in the 90s. And he said in the manifesto, DP, no manifesto. I've not seen the DP manifesto. Even if there was a DP manifesto, after that election, when Professor Mulema became the Minister of Finance, in his first budget speech, what did he go and do? He went and fixed the currency. He went and fixed it. Pick the budget speech and read it. I think it was August 86. He fixed. Next year, it was Dr. Kionga as Minister of Finance. Again, they fixed it. Later on, they had to reverse it back to the UPC program. They took the whole UPC recovery program. They just changed the name, Rehabilitation and Development Plan, program to program, policy to policy, everything, word for word. I challenge anybody. The fact is there. These people who are in Parliament, let them go to the library and read. Somebody talks about Obote. Has he even read one of Obote's speeches? He talked about Obote. Has he read the budget speech? I hear. People want people to hate others for what? Hate me for what I say. Hate me for what I do. You want to hate Obote? I'll tell you, Obote loved Ugandans. Obote believed the common man was his boss. Everything he did was for the common man. The hospital beds for the common man. How many beds can you sleep in? He put the beds all over Uganda. This government has failed to maintain. They failed to expand. Now you see the minister walking around, all hospitals are congested. Yes, population will grow. Obote has been dead for 20 years. Obote has been out of power for over 40 years. Even the president wants to bring up Obote's name. Obote's name. Obote's name. You are now dealing with Akena. You want to create an animosity between Obote and Baganda. Akena is the son of a Muganda woman. Where can I go? Obote used to say, my children are Baganda. So I am. Then what? So I am. So what? You want to dredge up issues? My brother Mpanga says we must have a, what does he call it? A central nervous system to understand where pain is. Right now, my pain is on 2 million Ugandan children who are malnourished and are going to be a burden for tomorrow. We already have 16 million in the society. We're adding 2 million this year. We'll add another 2 million next year if we do not wake up and change things, how things are done. And how things should be done, we should debate. People talk about, I hear rumors, we're going to go for parliamentary system. Now parliamentary system, and you want to choose leaders. Who are you? Really? If you have ideas, bring the ideas. I challenge anybody, because I wanted the president. I was not allowed to take the president. Bring anybody. Anybody, let them come. I will challenge you on any policy question. All of you who have challenged UPC, brought anything about UPC, I will defend UPC. Repeat. What the president said about the 60 megawatts, I can prove the president wrong. About the market economy, I can prove. I don't say this boastfully. Everything I produce, I can back up. And I want it to be done for the people of Uganda. Lastly, I came across an interesting write-up on the Commonwealth Conference of 1971, where Milton Obote or the UPC government was overthrown. And one of the major issues which took Milton Obote to Singapore was the case of arms sales to oppressive governments. He argues extensively that those arms sales will oppress the people in that country and in the neighboring countries. I think that remains appropriate today and tomorrow. An oppressive government is an oppressive government. Whether it's oppressing its own people, oppressing neighbors, it's oppressive. We were born or created in the image of God. Let us respect that image. I end with a prayer that the will of God be done in Uganda as it is in heaven today.